Subscribe to the Academy of Business Abroad channel and welcome to Vietnam, one of the most beautiful countries in the world. But not only beautiful. Salaries for foreign managers in various industries range from $9,000 to $40,000 a month, and the demand for managers is only growing. Wow, I am already ready to go myself on such conditions. Vietnam, with its 100 million population, is not only exotic, but also a very promising and rapidly developing market. If 20 years ago the main export commodity of Vietnam was crude oil, which accounted for up to 20% of export turnover, now it accounts for only 0.5%. Now the main export commodities from Vietnam have become petroleum products, cement, steel, electronics, automobiles, textiles, and seafood. The level of gross product per capita for the same 20 years rose 7 times and reached almost $4,000. Accordingly, the standard of living of the local population has changed noticeably, the middle class has developed, and the space for local and foreign business has been cleared. Especially for foreign business. The fact is that in Vietnam there is a widespread belief that you can only get everything of high quality and premium quality from foreigners. Therefore, it is profitable to invest not in local companies, but to come out with your own brand, immediately positioning yourself as a foreign company. True, it is not easy to do this. To register a company in the local market, it is necessary to provide a rather large package of documents, including the charter of the company, shareholder and audit documents, which reflect the sufficiency of the company's funds to maintain operations in Vietnam. An investment project is also required, which cannot be prepared independently without the help of external consultants. And since Vietnam has not acceded to the 1961 Apostille Convention, instead of the usual provision of an apostille, foreign company documents undergo a more complicated and lengthy procedure. At the last stage of legalization, the documents need to be translated into Vietnamese, which makes this procedure also expensive due to the large volume of documents. Depending on the type of company's activity, there are requirements for the authorized capital. It can be as high as $50,000 or $100,000, although the average charter capital is around $10,000. The level of salaries in Vietnam today ranges from $190 per month, this is the minimum wage, to $1,000 for local management level employees. If you decide to invest in Vietnam, the following information will come in handy. Remember that Vietnamese people tend to make informed decisions, they are slower in everyday life. It is impossible to make a decision with them in one meeting, you must be sure to have several. It is simply impossible to do without a personal and rather long-term presence here. Vietnamese people value personal meetings, they want to learn more about a person in this way. They like to keep in touch, give gifts and share impressions. Vietnamese companies are characterized by a rigid power vertical. A manager's decision is most often not argued with. If there are several levels in the company, the document simply will not reach the next level manager until the previous person is sure that it is definitely possible to show it to the boss. And this is where they really dislike jumping in over their heads. Vietnamese client is important at the contractor to make concessions. Therefore, when negotiating, it is better to immediately prepare several variants of prices and gradually descend from overprice to the optimal price. Vietnamese can disappear on national holidays. In February they celebrate the Easter New Year, and can stay out of touch for 2 weeks. Doing business in Vietnam is quite comfortable, especially compared to China. In Vietnam everything is quite clear, very European approach. But with the language of communication can be difficult. Even those who speak English have a very specific accent, difficult to understand. Despite the openness of the Vietnamese economy and the growth of foreign investment, there are still a number of nuances that both foreign and local businesses have to face. The level of bureaucracy and corruption is very high, despite strict anti-corruption laws. Most officials do not speak English. VAT applies to goods and services used for production, trade and consumption in Vietnam. VAT also applies to imported goods. The importer must pay VAT to the customs authorities at the same time as import duties. VAT is 10%. Corporate income tax, 20%. Capital gains tax, 20%. Companies intending to do business in Vietnam should pay attention to the following nuances. Engaging an agent or distributor is one of the most popular ways for a foreign company to do business in Vietnam. This is due to the simplicity of regulating relations with an agent, distributor, and the low administrative burden on the exporting company. To work with the Vietnamese, you have to be patient. Like all Oriental people, they like to start a conversation from afar. It is difficult to expect results if you try to communicate online or without prior recommendation of a third party. You have to communicate a lot and in person. A direct attempt to get straight to the point is perceived negatively. As strange as it may sound, Vietnam is starting to experience a labor shortage, especially in large industrial centers like Pyongyang. Young people are not too eager to go to factories, preferring less stable but not so demanding work in cabs or small trade. Therefore, it is more expedient to open new production facilities in densely populated rural areas, where it is much easier to find workers and wages are noticeably lower. However, the level of education of workers will be much lower, many of them cannot even read. Cultural awareness is also important. In the country it is officially forbidden not only to sell and buy, but also to kill animals. Plants are sold only through retail outlets that have special certificates. The same rule applies to the unauthorized movement of the country's cultural property and taking photos of military objects, including selfies against their background. You can get a big fine for disrespecting the Buddha. This applies not only to a temple statue, but also to an ordinary souvenir. You should not openly show your feelings on the streets, for example, hugging or kissing, even if it is a married couple. Vietnam has a taboo on using the World Wide Web. There is a ban on access to social networks for foreigners. The latter have no right to invite locals to their rooms. Get a monetary fine can be in for smoking in public places, as well as trade in electronic cigarettes or their analogs. And for possession and sale of narcotic substances there is a chance to get the death penalty. Vietnamese people are friendly people, but do not accept any touching, including a welcoming hug or a friendly pat on the shoulder. Such behavior offends people, because they believe that the human soul is in the head. Vietnamese people greet each other with a slight bow with palms joined at chest level. Also, these people often smile, but this is not always a sign of favor to others. This facial expression can speak of sadness and even outright dislike. Etiquette here is principled and scrupulous. People necessarily address each other courteously, Mr. or Mrs., which is considered a sign of respect. People are used to hiding their emotions in public, so they are very limited in body language. Compulsive hand waving is considered a sign of lack of culture and education. In catering establishments one does not leave chopsticks in the plate, and the food is paid for by a person of higher social status. And someone always has to pay alone, even if it is a girl who came on a date with a guy. In houses and temples people necessarily walk barefoot, and go out facing the shrines. At the entrance to a Vietnamese house you can notice a mirror, which is not intended for the fair sex. They are placed to scare away dragons that can fly into the house and bring trouble. In Vietnam, it is customary to show respect for the elderly. Grandparents are categorized into internal, on the father's side, and external, on the father's side. When parents reach old age, their children and grandchildren organize special longevity ceremonies. They are held on birthdays or during Tet. This is one of the most favorite festivals of the Vietnamese people, celebrated from a week to 10 days. In all other respects, the Vietnamese people are very friendly and hardworking people, aiming at development and sincerely enjoying new people and new opportunities. If you found this information useful, please like and subscribe to the Academy of Business Abroad channel.